I became the first African American to head county operations for the United States, actually. I began my ag career at my high school. It was called Clear Run. Back in those days, all of our institutions were segregated. Agriculture teachers were very significant, and I had a teacher, Inez Devon. Devons were very influential Black folks in that particular area. Her husband was the principal, and she taught me in the 4th grade, and I remember very vividly every single class day. We would start out with 45 minutes of Bible study. I do also remember is the important influence that our Black teachers had on us. The average student would not do anything to upset the Black teacher. And they loved you in a special way, that they wanted you to be successful. And the bottom line was respect. I've worked mostly with 1862. That was the first Moral Act. 1862, historically white land-grant universities, and they were designed to help the common person. Because what happened was that the Ivy Leagues were the only institutions that were providing education, lifelong learning, and things of that sort to the citizenry. So the farmers and the regular people, the poor people, they were all left out. In 1862, under the first Moral Act, they were established, but they were established for whites. So the Black farmers and others in that category, the homemakers, they said, well, that ain't fair. I did some work with Dr. McAfee. You may be talking to him, with the Council of 1890 chancellors and presidents. We worked to develop a collaborative strategic plan to look at how those 18 universities, including A&T, could prosper. The 1890s were established in 1890 under the second Moral Act. Predominantly white land grants were established under the first Moral Act. I guess that's nothing unusual. You could sit in the room and you could sense the power that the administrators of the State Extension Service at NC State had over the power of the African American leaders. And it was always, we were making decisions about organization and structure. There was that unwritten, I guess you would say, milieu or environment. And I could tell when I worked with the A&T staff, like Thelma Feaster and folks of that sort, in very key roles. We were supposed to be key partners, but it was a kind of a one-sided game. I had just joined the extension in 1965, and that's when they made an earlier change to integrate, but it was really superficial, to be perfectly honest with you. In Wayne County, and I was an agent, 4-H agent in Wayne County, I was asked to move upstairs. We were downstairs, the Blacks. I was kind of a guinea pig, so they put me upstairs with the white folks to integrate, and that was a little test. And I was actually 20. I was willing to try anything. You were totally at risk, in terms of, I guess, your future running on the line. But this day that we had in the federal courthouse downtown right here in Raleigh, and the judge was a very conservative Republican judge out of Johnston County, somewhere around that Smithfield area. And we knew what we had going against us. Now, I'd already been promoted several times. I remember Cooper and Bazemore telling me, said, you kind of stay behind the scenes. They felt that I could have more impact in the role that I was in. And so I listened to them. And so, but this day was a day of reckoning. The federal court, everybody was going to be in town, all the Black folks and all the key white folks. And I walked in. I was really emotional that particular day because I knew what was on the line. So I walked in the court, I looked on the left, I looked on the right. On the left was all white folks, everybody that had some power. On the right, they were all Black folks. Bazemore, etc., the group that I had been working with that meant so much to me. And I said to myself when I walked in, I said, Wes, I said, you got to go somewhere. I said, where you gonna go? I was kind of talking to myself. So I stood there for a minute, I trembled, I walked over and sat with all the black folks. So I went back that night, I thought about everything, I thought about my family, and I went back on campus. And now this was the most amazing thing that ever happened. Don Stormer, he was finally National 4-H leader. He was director of the Texas 4-H staff for the state, and also then NC State. He comes from Michigan originally. And so Don came in, he walked over to my office. He's one of the director of the Stage 4-H program for the state of North Carolina. And Don said, James, he said, I know you had a pretty tough day. He said, let me tell you something. He said, you did the right thing. Because coming from Don Stormer, part of the administrative council, and I hadn't moved up to that particular level. To kind of close this out, from my perspective, those were really heroes and sheroes back in those days that stood together when all odds were totally against us. There was no question about the discrimination as it relates to promotion, discrimination as it relates to the issue of salaries, and just what I would call just pure self-respect. And after that, I said, well, I can do anything.